Okay, hello and welcome to today's video. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about magical spells. Or more specifically, how they could fit into Breath of the Wild 2. So today's video is going to cover a bit of theory and a bit of speculation. The theory will be all about why I think we're going to be getting spells in the sequel. And the speculation, well, that'll be all about what sort of spells I'd like to see. I've even drawn up some pictures. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. Right, so first, let's talk about why we might be getting magic spells. Firstly, Breath of the Wild was heavily tech-focused, with all the Sheikah stuff. However, in the sequel, we see a distinct lack of Sheikah tech in the trailer. And considering it's supposedly going to be a super dark game, I'm thinking they're going to contrast it against Breath of the Wild 1. And what a better way to contrast it than using spells rather than Sheikah tech. I mean, it's going straight from modern science sort of stuff to ancient fantasy, weirder stuff, I don't know, if you get what I mean. We also see Link's hand absorbing some energy and turning green in the trailer. Due to an old concept art from Breath of the Wild, it seems as if this green hand sort of thing might be where his abilities come from now, rather than the Sheikah slate. Due to the energy-like nature of the hand, if this was the case, it could easily be using spells, for the abilities. Furthermore, many people have suggested that this green energy is in fact spirit energy of a kind. This is due to the resemblance it bears to a ton of things, such as spirit orbs, the flames around the champion's ghosts, luminous stones, which are actually said to contain the spirits of the dead, and finally, it's also literally touching Ganondorf's corpse. I don't see how that can get any closer to spirits. Anyway though, this resemblance actually drew my attention to the champion abilities, which seem to be a form of spirit orb coming directly from the champions themselves. 3 out of 4 of the champion abilities are actually based on spells from Ocarina of Time. Urbos's Fury being Din's Fire, a wide area attack, Daruk's Protection being Nehru's Love, an invincibility shield sort of thing, and finally, although a bit of a weaker link here, with Raleig's Gale being Forore's Wind, which is easier travel I guess. Due to these resemblances, it has me thinking we could potentially be absorbing more spirit orbs from various people, enemies, allies, that sort of thing, and gaining spells and abilities from them, to be used with Link's green hand. So if that is the case, we could totally see spells in the game, and I really like magic spells. I've been playing a lot of Witcher 3 recently, which has some of them in it. I've played other games as well which have them in it, and I just like magic spells, so I'm talking about magic spells which are going to be in the game now. Well, which I want to see in the game. So anyway, let's go on to the ideas which I've come up with for this. I'll start with a very simple one, enhancing the Master Sword. I can imagine this as Link somehow pushing energy into the sword, to then be used for better combat ability, or maybe performing spells with the sword. It could even have elemental damage depending on how it'd work. It'd be somewhat similar to how the sword glows when near evil, except instead of a blue Master Sword sort of glow, it's a green glow full of spirits, something like that. This would probably be a very basic ability, something which comes with Link's green hand by default. I can't see him getting it from a specific spirit of anyone in particular. Maybe he just uses the spirits of the goblins he's killed and puts them into a sword for this. Now, a basic combat ability is all nice and good. However, we do have to remember that the main role of the runes in Breath of the Wild were manipulating the world and using the physics engine for puzzles. So, these spells really ought to do the same, to be honest. Going off that, my next idea for a spell is a Wind Gust. We've actually had a lot of wind in other Zeldas if you look back at the items, with Korok Leaves, Gust Bellows, the Tornado Rod or the Whirlwind, even the Gale Boomerang. Hell, the wind spells are also used in other open world games like Witcher or Skyrim, and I'm pretty sure Nintendo said they took inspiration from those games. So, yeah, I feel like a wind spell would work. Anyway, let's get into how I'd imagine the spell working. It would be a massive gust of wind covering quite a large area. Well, not too big an area, but quite the reasonable chunk, I'd say. It'd have a very large variety of uses, to be honest, from pushing away enemies in combat for better attacking, or moving objects across the world, knocking down rubble, or even just turning a turbine in a puzzle, Could do tons, and I personally feel this is the most widely applicable of the spells I've come up with here, and if we did get spells, this one would be the most likely to show up. Going with the idea of getting these spells from the Spirits of the Fallen, I think this could potentially be coming from maybe the Gerudo or Hebra regions, as both of those have wind quite a lot. Maybe a sandstorm or blizzard even, for the spell. My next idea for a spell is probably one of the more generic ones. It's just a fire explosion. However, I feel it would be quite essential. I think it would be somewhat similar to how bombs played out in other Zelda games, being an explosion which can destroy rubble and stuff, and that's something which is in lots of Zelda games. So I feel they'd need this. It's just like, cause spells are potentially going to be the ability, if we're going off what this video says, then bombs aren't really a spell, so explosion spell. Anyway though, I can see it working similarly to the attack which high-level Lynels do at the start of a fight, where they put their spear down into the ground and it goes boom with a fire explosion. Or maybe similar to Din's fire in Ocarina of Time too. So for the artwork here, I actually drew it with Link putting his Master Sword into the ground, along the same vein of that. So I imagine him sort of like imbuing his sword with spirit energy, like what I thought earlier actually, stabbing it into the ground and then bang, explosion. Something like that would be cool. Could be used in both combat, but also for destroying objects around the world and getting places. The explosion could even have some sort of spirit fire to it, although I think a normal one might also look good. When looking into possible spells, I decided to also look back at magical items from past Zelda games, and it sure did prove a good idea. The Lens of Truth is an item seen in Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, and it allows you to see hidden objects, people, or even enemies. So an idea for a spell which does just this came straight to mind. The name it'd have, I'm not really sure. It'd probably just include the word truth in it, because Lens of Truth. And I think it would work very well with glowing droplets appearing under Link's eyes and maybe triangles above. Sort of akin to the Sheikah symbol itself, except on real eyes. You know? That'd look kinda cool. I also think this spell might work better as being something more passive, like the senses that Geralt has in Witcher 3, which can just be active whenever you want, rather than draining a magic meter. I think this would work better because you're exploring around a massive world and you'll want to use this quite often, so like, having to have a magic meter full would be very awkward. I feel if they wanted to limit it so you can't just abuse it, they might want to have it so that you can not perform certain actions like combat or jumping or climbing whilst you're doing it, you know? So that you only use it when you need to use it, but you're not being hindered by some stupid magic meter which just annoys you. I feel it could actually be used really well to help enrich quests and even just the natural environment, just looking around for hidden clues which you wouldn't be able to see before. As well as looking back to other Zelda games, I also decided to look towards other open world games, since as I mentioned a bit earlier, I do think Nintendo did so when they were making Breath of the Wild. I can't remember where I heard it, but I'm pretty sure I did. Anyway, when doing this, one such spell caught my attention quite largely, in relevance to this whole idea of spirits. That being a spell to summon some sort of monster or demon creature to fight by your side. I saw this in Skyrim specifically, with like summoning a dead dragon to fight by your side, or like a Daedra demon or stuff like that. I wouldn't necessarily say it'd be used the same in Breath of the Wild, but just summoning something could work. I mainly think this would work well with the whole spirit idea because, say Link kills someone or meets a ghost and gets their spirit as an orb to use the ability with. In this case, he could literally summon their spirit as a ghost to come and fight alongside him for a little bit, and that could be really cool, you know? They already have an AI in the game for actually fighting enemies. You see it with the travellers on the road fighting bokoblins every now and then. Kind of quite a basic AI, but they already have the groundworks there. They could easily expand upon it and just bang, add in some summonable companion for Link very rarely, you know? Obviously it wouldn't be something you could do all the time, it'd have a countdown on it, maybe like Mipha's Grace or something, but it could be a really cool idea. And going off the last idea actually, if they were going to add AI for NPCs to fight alongside you, a charm spell in the game could be really handy. You also see charm spells in games like Skyrim or maybe Witcher or something, where they allow you to control an opponent's mind, ranging from literally just making them stop fighting for a bit to making them fight alongside you. I've also seen it outside of combat actually, in conversations, helping you twist a conversation in your favour, you know? It's quite cool. And I think it could work very well in Breath of the Wild if they did have AI for someone fighting alongside you. Like, I could just imagine going up to some bokoblin, controlling it and having it fight for me. That'd be really funny, to be honest. Anyway, that's it for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed. I certainly did, especially drawing the pictures up. I did come up with some other few spells which I didn't really include because I didn't feel they were good enough, but I'll list them just here just in case you're interested. And as I said, hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to like the video and subscribe or any of that sort of things which other YouTubers all say. I've also got a Patreon if you want to help me out on there. Bye.